It's 7 o'clock. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Number 2, the adoption of the agenda proposed by Councillor Hill and led by Councillor Curran. All those in favour? Against? Motion carried. Number 3, are there any declaration of conflict of interest for tonight's meeting? This session 13.2 and the closed session, there would be there. Is there any other conflicts of interest? If not, we go to number 4, presentation. There's nothing this evening. Number 6, adoption of the council meetings minutes on January 19th, the regular council meeting. Are there errors or omissions? No. Proposed by Councillor Kamau, seconded by Councillor Hill. All those in favour? Against? Motion carried. 5.2, the meeting of the February 2nd council committee meeting. Are there errors or omissions? If not, a motion proposed by Councillor Pache and seconded by Councillor Deveau. All those in favour? Against? Motion carried. Number 6, business arising from previous council meetings. We don't have anything there. Number 7, Warden's activity report. We'll go into this. On January 24, I went to a meeting of the mayors and wardens to discuss the congratulation number for the. We prepared a meeting. On the January 25th, I went to a meeting of the Villa Acadienne, and on the 28th, went to another meeting of the other administrative for the Acadian Villa, which pertained mostly to human resources. The other one was more regular. On February 9th, I went to an engagement session by NSFM. It was with EPR and provincial consultation. It was an update on what they had done. It was interesting. And on February 12th, I went to a meeting of Council of Governors of Université Saint-Anne, where we participated in an information session on the roles and responsibilities of the Administrative Council. And during this meeting, we revised the strategic plan of the university. We looked at the projects that were attached on the plan, and we talked about the track and field project and other projects that are ongoing. On February 15th, I went to a meeting of the advisory committee of the firm Jost Architecture Limited, which it was a project for Joseph Marie Dugas Park and Major Point. We talked about a plan that was a bit more detailed on what's going there. We had a discussion on this, and that's it. It's a short report, Councillor Deveau. Just one question regarding the meeting you had for. Did you accomplish more? I know it was difficult when I spoke about this meeting. Do they see the importance of what we wanted? This is what was discussed regarding wage check in the last 5 years. We're one of the only provinces, the New Brunswick and PEI, we're one of the last ones to join, but it looks as if it will gonna go ahead in the right direction. Are there any other questions on my report? If not, we go to number 8, official statements from members of council. No presentations this evening. If not, number 9, correspondence. Mary Shuret, Managing Director of Yarmouth Health Foundation.
This year as a platinum sponsor of the 2022 We Care Radiothon. We appreciate your support and look forward to a successful We Care Radiothon on Thursday, March 3rd. Thank you for showing us how much you care. Sincerely, Marie Surette, Yarmouth Hospital Foundation Managing Director. Juste à titre de rappel, la municipalité a fait une contribution de
Contribution of $5,000 to the hospital, which is something we do every year as part of our operational budget that we contribute to the radiothon. Are there any questions or comments on this item? If not, we go on 9.2 on the Doucette Event Director of Coldest Night of the Year 2022.
On February 26th, Yarmouth has something to celebrate, and so could you. That's the night folks in Yarmouth will join thousands of others in 150 plus cities across Canada in the coldest night of the year, a 2 to 5 kilometer winter walk in support of people experiencing hunger, hurt, and homelessness in our community. In Yarmouth, we'll be walking for Shift and Tri-County Women's Centre. Shift offers residential and outreach supports for homeless and at-risk youth in Shelburne and Yarmouth counties. These supports include transitional housing, 24/7 staff support, programs, workshops, referrals, individual planning, and access to meals, laundry, telephone, and internet. The Tri-County Women's Centre provides supportive counseling, including supports for precariously housed and homeless women and girls, therapeutic counseling for sexualized violence trauma, 24/7 sexual assault, nurse examiner response, advocacy, accompaniment, referrals, and programs to women and adolescent girls in the Tri-Counties. Our goal in coldest night of the year is to raise $32,000 with the support of 20 plus teams and 150 plus walkers. I'm writing to ask you for your support in 2 ways. Sponsorship. Would you consider sponsoring our event with an investment of $500 or more? Or participation. Would you consider engaging coldest night of the year by registering a team and recruiting 8 or 10 employees to walk and raise money with us? Coldest night of the year is something special. It's fun, meaningful, and a little challenging. Shift in the Tri-County Women's Centre is also something special, and its work and service in our community are essential. Please consider joining us by walking and sponsoring this great event. And remember, it's cold out there. Warmly, Wanda Doucette, Event Director.
Are there comments on this letter? Councillor Como? The request $500 is not much, and there are residents of our community who go to this center and who have gone in the past. I would support a contribution of $500. I know it's mostly from other regions, but since there are residents of Clare who have used it, that went to Shift in the past, I make the motion to, I don't know if there's a motion to be held here, but if we can make a motion for the amount you wish. Do you want to make the motion? Or does anybody else want to discuss this motion first? Are there questions or comments on this one? If no, Brian, I propose that we give $500 to the Shift Women's Center for that particular event that's mentioned in this letter. Proposed by Councillor Como, seconded by Councillor Hill. On those in favour, against, motion carried. 9.3, Lucia Leblanc, Harbour Authorities of Watchport and Picnics Point. This is a letter that was addressed to Chris D'Autremont and Chris Perkins and Fisheries and Oceans. We are
Port infrastructure finds itself in throughout southwest Nova Scotia. Each harbor authority throughout our region has operated until now in a manner where they lobby our local craft harbor office for a portion of the severely underfunded budget they are allocated each year. Because of the lack of small craft harbor funding in our industry that has grown faster than could have been anticipated, we are constantly trying to mitigate backlogged issues rather than moving forward with industry needs at our wharves. Each authority tries to advocate they need the funding more than the next port, when in reality they all drastically require the funding. Our wharves in southwest Nova Scotia house the last independently operated, sustainable, and viable fishery, our lobster fishery. Our wharves were designed many years ago for vessels exactly 50% the size of the ones we operate today. Recent lobster vessels have surpassed the $2 million price tag. We are currently tying these $2 million vessels in extremely unsafe locations because we have no other areas to house them. There has not been a reduction in lobster licenses, but our vessels have doubled in size. This means we're taking up 200% of the real estate with our harbors that we did 50 years ago when most of these wharves were built. A brand new vessel was recently tied on the windward side of a wharf in East Pubnico during a storm. There was simply nowhere else to place this vessel within the sheltered portions of the wharf due to overcrowding. This vessel broke free of its lines and floundered on nearby rocks. It is estimated around $1.5 million for its replacement. This vessel was owned by a brand new young entrant to the fishery who mortgaged all his life away to enter the fishery, and this matter will likely be financially crippling for his fishing enterprise and his family. This could have been avoided had the East Pubnico Wharf been properly funded and of appropriate size. Another quick anecdote is of a trip I personally did to Newfoundland last summer. I happened upon a minuscule fishing wharf in Rocky Harbor. Coincidentally, I began speaking to the local harbor rep, who made a joke about receiving $4 million of funding for a wharf who housed one fishing boat and 2 small pleasure crafts. The wharf, as every other wharf I observed during my trip, was already in much better shape than the best of the wharves we have in southwest Nova Scotia. This gentleman joked that they had no idea what to do with the $4 million. His solution was possibly to build a small floating dock of about $40,000 in case a pleasure craft ever wanted to tie there. Without a proper economic assessment, you can easily multiply our 1,000 lobster licenses just off of Yarmouth with an average landing of 58,000 pounds at an average price of $9 per pound. This equates to $522 million injected into a region of 100 kilometers in length, without counting LFAs 35, 30, and 33 as well. It was mind-boggling for me to see all these beautiful overfunded wharves in Newfoundland with only a couple fishing boats when our primary economic driver constitutes of $2 million vessels tied to insufficient piers. We are asking for major emergency funding. We cannot operate much longer with small election time injections that fix issues we should have fixed 20 years ago. Our piers are falling down and they are too small. We need assistance for all wharves in southwest Nova Scotia that house our last well-managed fishery. We cannot keep competing against other local harbor authorities for a piece of the small depleted small craft harbors pie. We are asking in solidarity with other ports for major projects to move forward. Lucien Leblanc, on behalf of the harbor authorities of Wedgeport and Pigneys Point.
Do you have any questions or comments on this? Councillor DeVoe? Thank you. What happened was, if we don't put money on the wharves, it will cost a lot more. Eventually, if they don't fix them one at a time, it will accumulate. So are they asking from us for a letter? There is no request. Is it a letter of support they're asking to support them? In the email that he sent, it was more or less to challenge us to work together with our wharf associations like Metagan. What is the request that they have? And if we can support them in ways that would help them to get to capacity on their project. It's not money or anything, but just support. Does that answer your question? Any more questions or comments? I don't know, should we touch base with the Harbor Authority of Meteghan also? Yes, that's what I was thinking. We could talk to the Meteghan Harbor Authority and the others at Cape St. Mary and Sonyville, depending where Sonyville is at, but to see really what the needs are in terms of work in the municipality. Do they have projects that are being developed? And if there are ways that we can support them or help them, not necessarily financially, but letters of support that could accompany their request for funding by showing the support of the municipality in principle. We could have an informal meeting with them to see where they are at and what their priorities are in terms of projects. Councillor Poitier? I don't know if I'm mistaken, but wasn't there an amalgamation of the Meteghan and Sonyville wharves? So it might not be too difficult for the discussion if there is a group altogether already. I don't know if you all agree. I could start the discussion and continue at the next meeting. It's quite simple. I'm sure we want to help the industry for the follow-up, if you all agree with this. Okay. Number 10, the report, the general CAO's report.
As of today, or as of earlier this week, Mainland had 550 customers now online. The overpass crossing on 2nd Division Road is finally completed. It was completed by Nova Scotia Power on February 1st. However, there was a storm that weekend, so Mainland wasn't able to get into schedule. So the actual cabling and things that they had to do was only done the following week. So at the moment, they are actively testing the system, but because that particular section, they've been waiting so long to get it up and running, they're actually doing connections to homes as well as simultaneously while they're testing the network as well. So the area in question here is 2nd Division Road, Bangor Road, Mazza Road, D'Entremont Road, and that includes around Clearwater Lake, Max Wolton Road, and portions of Placid Como. So it's a fairly large section, and that, as I understand it, is available for connection. So residents who are interested in the service are certainly encouraged to contact Mainland to schedule their hookup. Vista Care is currently cleaning up a couple of areas throughout Phase 11, which is along the Sonyville Road to the Max Wolton Road and along 2nd Division Road. I gather this is mostly a result of the storm, but they'll be moving back to Phase 15 shortly, which is the Hectanuga and Salmon River area. In terms of project completion, right now, 85% of the network is built. So we're talking in terms of, when I say network, we're looking at in excess of 300 kilometers of fiber throughout the municipality. Of this network, 70% is spliced and operating. So they are playing catch up, but it is progressing nicely. Like I said, the section which I just mentioned that was held up because the overpass represents a lot of potential connections in a big geographic area for Mainland, and for the municipality, which is good news. Pour le Centre des Anciens Combattants.
For the Veterans Center, we did not get any news for the financing. I called Chris D'Entremont to see if he could help us with information. It's not with our project. We talked to the agency in question and others. At the level of the program itself, there was a lack of resource and staff, and that is creating the delays. But for now, we are talking with Dr. Mill's office to see if he could find more information, to see where our project is, because it is a large project and we want to plan for the necessary work to be done, especially where it touches the renters that are there now and with the World Congress that's coming up. The Clare Health Center, the expansion that we are proposing, it is going forward. We will have preliminary plans next week for different options to look at, and when we receive them, I will make sure that the council will be able to see them also. I plan to meet with the architects on February 22nd, myself and Chantal, at the medical center to evaluate these plans and then present them to council and then proceed with the medical board for their input. We are sending a letter to Michelle Thompson, Minister of Health Advancement in Nova Scotia, to have her come and have a look at our health center in Meteghan to see what services we have as a model, and what we are proposing as an expansion and the reason why we are expanding. The letter was sent to Colton LeBlanc, the Minister of Acadian Affairs and Francophonie, and also to our member of the Assembly, Ronnie LeBlanc. For the project of tourism and public spaces, the warden mentioned earlier, for the Marie du Gard and Pointe Major Park, we met with the advisory committee to revise the proposed plans at the next meeting that will be held on March 22nd for the Cape St. Mary's Lighthouse Park and the interpretive center that is proposed for there. We met with the consultants on February 11th to discuss the plans proposed for the lighthouse for the inside. We also sent out a submission call for the supports, and there is interest. The request for submissions will finish February 25th at noon. We also met with the consultants again on February 11th to discuss our strategy for signage at the gateway and wayfinding signs. That is also going forward quietly,
Okay.
slowly.
For what is welcoming committees, we presented a conference on immigration and health services in January with University St. Anne's and with our doctors and our staff at this health center at the community. Meals are started again, and on January we had one, and in February there our crew will be working with Acadie to prepare a meal for the African heritage. We also, as part of the African heritage, there are other activities, including an evening to show films with the PFAM on the 23rd of February, and there will also be something that will show the contribution of the Afro immigrants in Nova Scotia. Our session with COVID, we had less participants in the language because some people who participated had to isolate themselves because of COVID. The group will also have activities regarding the skating at the new center, and the lessons for skating for new people will also start at next month. And finally, for welcoming committees at next month is the Francophonie special week, and will be activities to celebrate this feast. So we'll give you more details a bit later on. for what is our what regarding the there will be two things regarding the sidewalks in Metegan, and we will discuss this at the in the last item when in closed session on January 11th. There were repairs have been done to right now. All the electrical work has been completed, and a new motor
At the dump, there are some electrical supplies that are being repaired. It's one of the girth that was destroyed by the heat of the fire, one of the external walls, all the installations, the windows. And we have two exhaust fans, one that was completely broken by the fire, and the second which requires repairs. The loader was evaluated by Stronco because it was also damaged by the fire. We estimate the repairs at $40,000, and these will start soon. We received permission to start with our insurance. In terms of prevention, we are looking at options to minimize the damage and the eventuality of another fire in the future. We are looking at an alarm system, a dry sprinkler system, etc.
Okay. For our track and field with University Setan, the work have stopped for winter regarding this project, but we're at about 70% completed at this present time, and as soon as spring starts in May, I think it will be warm enough to start put the asphalt, and the work will resume at that particular time, and we hope it will be completely finished by the end of June. Our work at the library in Metegan is finished. The renovations to the washrooms in the basement we have been modernized and make them more accessible. So that job is now finished. Our work at Clare's search and rescue are going ahead, and we have done the ceiling in the meeting room, and the other work is being completed now. We are now working only for certain doors to come in to complete the work there. It's not the first time. It's not the first time that we are waiting for doors to arrive at Wentworth Park. The submission has been given out, and it will be end on the 18th. And this project will go ahead afterwards. The water hole at the Veteran Center is done, and everything has been cleaned, and we are just waiting a few days of nice weather and good temperatures so that we can install the plants and put geotextile in around the hole. Our Havelock multi-court in Havelock, as we had discussed a couple of weeks ago, the estimate we have for the project now is around 80,000 people, and the date limit was last Monday. It has been submitted to the province's Community Culture and Heritage for Recreation Facilities Development Program. Our boundary review, there we have an invitation. A submission was presented to professional services regarding essentially our municipality to see if we have the exact and reasonable number of councillors in our electoral districts, and if so, we will also look at normally this is done every 8 years, but in our case, we just finished ours in 2018, where it will be only 4 years, so we're an exception to the rule, but the review board said that they cannot remove this obligation. So we have to do one in 2022. We have the option that we can consult publicly, and if nobody propose changes in the number of councillors and electoral districts, then I think our exercise can be limited to just consult the population of each district and see what kind of variation there is between each electoral district. So our boundary review would be quite restrained, and it will not be as complete as in previous years. Our tax sale, as we had discussed at the last meeting, it will not be done in person. It will be done by tender. So we invite submissions to be present. They will be accepted until the 4th of March at noon. The description of the properties that are now for sale are available here at the municipal office here. And on the 16th of February today, there was 21 properties still on the list. So the number is diminishing. At this time of the year, there's only 21 left now. Finally, financials, January the 31st, the municipality has $9,544,821 in revenue and $8,404,334 in expenses, for a surplus of $1,140,487. As of January 21st, the municipality had a balance of $1,879,618 in its operating fund, $95,382 in its capital fund, and a total reserve balance of $5,839,847. The total reserve balance can be broken down as follows. The operating reserve, $2,145,635. Capital reserve, $2,649,017. Landfill closure reserve, $335,380. And the gas tax reserve, $719,815. So we have not received our last amount. For the gas tax, which around 192,000. So financially, the municipality is in good standing. That's my report.
Do you have any questions or comments? If not, we will go on to 11, committee reports. 11.1, the building permits. Councillor Hill.
January of 2021, we had 11 permits issued for a value of construction of $420,000. And the past January 2022, we had 10 permits issued for a value of construction of $652,000. So we've already started off ahead of last year, so it's good.
That's good. Any questions, comments? If not, we will go on to waste check. Councillor DeVoe. Thank you, Mr. Warden. I attended on February 8th. Councillor Como was also at the meeting with us. At the waste check meeting, we talked a bit more, or quite a bit, on the extended responsibilities that the warden mentioned earlier. It was a meeting regarding that, so we talked about that. It's going well. We also mentioned that we are spending a lot of money again on the green cards, so we will need to One thing I have to say, which is a bit problem, but the green carts with the round bottoms that we find that works well. We have a lot less problems with the green carts with the round bottoms. It is not being eaten by animals or rats. That's what we had with the round bins, but it's too bad we will not be able to get in our next order the round bottom carts, because those carts come from Europe, and because of COVID we cannot have them. So we will need to go back to the bottom flat that we had before. We ordered 647 carts for a value of $52,612.47. And in saying that, just for the people who are listening, they should take care of their carts and not leave them by the road, especially in the winter when the plows can hit them and things like that, because it is expensive, and the more we can take care of them, the better it is. Also, a group called Fishing Gear Coalition of Atlantic Canada approached the municipality of Argyll and Yarmouth Town They want to start a project to recycle lobster traps, the wire traps, not the old wooden ones, but the newer ones. They think they can recycle them, but they want financing, of course. Before we give any financing, we would like to have more information, so at the next meeting of Waste Check, they will come to present their project on what they want to do with the traps. In concluding, a reminder to the public that somebody who destroys a building, an older building, where you need a demolition permit from the municipality of Clare, we ask that it is somebody who demolishes a building to come and get a demolition permit, and that we ask that they not dump the remains anywhere. We have bylaws for that, and we would like the people to follow them, because we have a problem that buildings are being destroyed and they are dumped not in the right place. So I ask that they come for the demolition permits. Thank you. A good report. Any question, comments, Councillor Camon? What happens if an individual or a resident who demolishes his house and does not come for a permit? What is the process for that? It's a bit complicated. What happens is, if somebody who tears down a building, a house, if they remove everything except the wood, because it's wood that is not treated, they can dump it on their land, and it doesn't have to be covered. It has to be left. We would think it would be better to bury it, but you should not bury it, because what happens now is there are houses or buildings that are destroyed. They are dumped on the land of the owners, so whoever owns the house, it's their own land. But when we inspect and go, we see windows or pieces of windows and things that should not be there. It's not always just wood, and they bury it. So once it's buried, we don't know what is there underneath. So, what we will start to enforce, we have bylaws on this, and there are fines if people get caught doing this. So we will start to include the environment departments, and sometimes it takes time, but we will start to reinforce more because it is becoming a problem. There are fines for people who are caught dumping. Any more questions or comments on this? If not, thank you. We will go on to 11.3. We have a new committee, that's right, 11.3. Accessibility Advisory Committee, Councillor Nadine, come on. Thank you. The first meeting of the committee on the Accessibility Advisory Committee took place on February 10th. The members of the committee are the Councillors Como and Poitier and myself. The representatives of the community are Trudy Benjaveni, Edwin DeVoe, and Lonnie McNeil. The committee elected me as chair. The priorities of the committee are to have a focus on the 6 following points: build environment, education, goods and services, information and communications, transportation, and employment. The committee will make a public consultation to develop its plan. In the next weeks, there will be a survey online to ask people to answer the survey. The next meeting will take place on February 24th, and the survey will come out after this meeting. And the municipality will also make a press release for the survey to promote the committee and its mandate. Sounds like you have good people around the table. That looks good. Any questions or comments?
So we now go on number 12, the new business. Number 1 is a motion to amend the bylaw. To a bylaw respecting the transfer tax, second and final reading. And last month we passed the motion for the first reading of this modification of bylaw, and we announced these modifications to this bylaw. We had an announcement in the Clare Shopper and the Courier, and we also have put it on our Facebook page and on our website for a period of 4 weeks, which ends at tonight's meeting. Meanwhile, I have not received any formal request. One individual reached me and left messages, but I did not have any. It was not to make to complain, but we were not able to talk to give him more information. But I have not received any questions or comments on the public side. So this being said, I don't know if you have received any comments, but my recommendation is that we pass the motion this evening to move ahead with the modifications that are proposed to the bylaw number 20. And are there questions or comments on this item? Would somebody make the motion? Councillor DeVoe? I move that the council for the municipality of the district of Clare read bylaw number 20, amendment number 2001/2022, a bylaw respecting deed transfer tax, and that the bylaw be read for the second and final time by title only. Proposed by Councillor DeVoe, seconded by Councillor Hill. All those in favor? Against? Motion approved, but the councillor has to read it a second time. Bylaw respecting deed transfer tax, the bylaw number 20, they're respecting deed transfer tax, second and final reading. The motion number 2 is for a multi-use court for Havelock to approve funding for this project. I have spoken about this in my report, but essentially our Troricomo with partnering with the Havelock community and with Carlton Brooks have proposed a project for the construction and installation of a multi-use court. And we, as I mentioned in my report, it's about $80,000, $60,000. The financial contribution that we apply for the province will be 1/3 of the cost of the project, and the proposition that has been done at the meeting last week would be to finance the other 2/3 of the project up to the amount of $60,000. So because of the deadlines for the program, the provincial program, we had to submit this proposed now, and we'd like to make the motion this evening to make it official. This is what we propose. There are comments on this one? Does somebody do the motion? Councillor Hill.
I move that the council for the municipality of the District of Clare approve a contribution of up to $60,000 toward the construction of a multi-use court to be located at the Havelock Community Center, conditional upon confirmation of the balance of the project funding, and that this contribution be taken from the municipality's capital reserve.
Proposed
by Councillor Hill, seconded by Councillor DeVoe. All those in favor? Against? Motion approved. 12.3, motion to approve committee appointment on accessibility advisory committee. We had next month we had approved 2 new members. We to this committee through the Bini and Mr. DeVoe. We were at the discussion for somebody else to go part of the committee, but she had not taken the decision when in time for this council meeting, so we could not include her in the motion officially. So Mr. McNeil has accepted to go on the committee, and with his experience and also his application, I think he would add a lot to this committee. So it would be my recommendation to the committee appoints Lonnie McNeil to this Accessibility Advisory Committee. Questions or comments on this one? Is there somebody who wants to propose this? Councillor Potier, I move that the council for the municipality of the District of Clare appoint Lonnie McNeil to its Accessibility Advisory Committee. Proposed by Councillor Potier and seconded by Councillor Como. Those in favour? Motion carried. 12.4, a motion to name a road Island View Lane. we have a motion to there's a, that's the committee to name a road for a private property. We have the proportion of the three people who own properties there, and if we look at our policy to name gnomes, the name respects our policy. It is not a name that existed beforehand in the municipality. So it is the recommendation of the staff and myself to accept the recommendation, and that we will call this Island View Lane. Questions or comments on this one? If not, somebody want to make the motion? Councillor, proposed by Councillor DeVoe. I move that the Council for the Municipality of the District of Clare approve the request to name the road shared by the PID's property identification number listed below as follows. The numbers are the number French is in French Ruelle Island View, and in English Island View Lane, and the PID numbers are 303-66637, 303-66645, 30115471. Proposed by Councillor DeVoe, seconded by Councillor Como. All those in favor? Against, motion carried.
12.5, motion to write a letter to Public Works Nova Scotia regarding the intersection of Stars Roads and Highway 101. For the Stars Road and the Highway 101, there are many residents of Clare who go to Yarmouth to work, to visit, to shop, and all that, and even some residents of Yarmouth who come to Clare to work or for different reasons. And to leave Yarmouth when you arrive at the intersection at Stars Road and Highway 101, there is not what we call a flashing green light. So sometimes if the light is red, to come green, if there is no flashing green light, the people who are coming from Pubnica, Wedgeport or Canadian Tire, they have the first chance to cross, to continue to Yarmouth. But it doesn't give the chance from, if there is no flashing green light, for the people of Yarmouth to go into Yarmouth. And it's a security question, because when I wanted to leave Yarmouth, I have to wait a long time before I have my chance. And if there is no chance, because of a lot of traffic, somebody let me go, and I had the attention of that person, but there was a parent and a young boy, a young son, who wanted to cross on the sidewalk, and I just saw them at the last minute. But this is a question of security. The people who are coming from Canadian Tire are not allowed to let the people from Yarmouth to go in if they have the first chance to go to Yarmouth. So it's a question of security for me. And it's not only to render service to our community, but it's also for the residents of Yarmouth. So I would like to move that we send a letter to Pamela, our regional manager for Public Works, and I'm ready to make the motion. So I move that the Council for the Municipality of the District of Clare write a letter to Pamela Melman-Chand, Area Manager for Nova Scotia Public Works, citing safety concerns at the intersection of Stars Road and Highway 101 and requesting the installation of an advanced flashing green light left turn signal. Moved by Councillor Comeau, seconded by Councillor Hill. All those in favor? Against? Motion carried. Any more discussion on this? Councillor Doucette? Have they thought of placing a roundabout there? That would solve the people who go to Canadian Tire go to Canadian Tire, so they just go around. It doesn't stop. There are no more lights. I had a discussion with Brian Boudreau, who is an engineer. His district covers Yarmouth, but he works in Clare. I spoke to him Monday night about this concern, and I asked him what the history is. He didn't know what it was, the history of it, of former problems, but he thinks that those lights belong to the province. In the letter, in an answer I had received from a letter from Pamela Shand, that it was the responsibility of the town. But Briand here thinks that might be the responsibility of the province. So maybe when we have a reply, we'll know more, but I never heard of a roundabout. I know that in the past there was a discussion to extend the Route 103 to come on this side of Stars Road, but I understood that there it would have taken some business out of Stars Road, so it's that idea was abandoned, but I never heard about a roundabout. Maybe you could mention that also, because when you look at Halifax, where it is very busy, Larry Utech, there are 3 or 4 in a little space, and here you can go around and it doesn't make a difference, there are no lights. It's something we could discuss with Pamela at our next meeting. Yes, when we meet with her or when we get a reply from our letter, we could continue this. If not, we will go on to 12.6, motion to send a letter of support to the Clare Golf and Country Club. I was approached by the president of the Clare Golf Club, Eric Toss, for a letter of support after the fire that they had at the golf course earlier this year. There's part of their building that they had golf carts and other equipment that they use every day for the golf. It represents a huge financial problem for them. It was insured, but the insurance doesn't cover it all, so it puts pressure on the club to find the missing part financially. So what they want to do is submit a request to the province. They did it earlier this week under the Recreation Facilities Recreation Fund. So to enforce this case, and one of the conditions for this fund is that there is the support from the municipality or the community to show that there is a support for their project. So earlier this month we talked about sending a letter. We made the recommendation to send them a letter of support to accompany their request, and that's what I am asking again this evening, that we come out with this letter for them. Any questions or comments? If not, Councillor DeVoe. I move that the Council for the Municipality of the District of Clare write a letter to the Clare Golf and Country Club in support of their application to the Nova Scotia's Recreation Facilities Development Fund of the Province of Nova Scotia. Moved by Councillor DeVoe, Seconded by Councillor Doucette. All those in favor? Against? Motion is carried. 12.7, motion to accept salary scale for employees 2022 to 2025. The municipality has a policy on the salary scale for its employees. As part of this policy, it says that every 3 years I have to make an analysis of the salaries we pay to our employees, but the analysis is to see that we are competitive, that we have salaries to attract and keep our employees. We have a good team and we don't want to lose them, but also that we are just towards the employees and the community. So that being said, as part of that exercise I do every 3 years, I compare with the other municipalities, especially our neighboring municipalities, but I compare to other employers in the community who represent a direct competition, but it is, we want to keep our employees. If we look at the Western Ren, University of St. Anne, in certain cases CSAP and others, it is to compare similar positions with those employers and other municipalities to see where we are located at the salary level, if we are too low or too high, and then we adjust. At the beginning of the month, I presented to you the proposed revisions to the salary scale of the employees, considering the inflation, and also with the results of that analysis. So at the time, the council had made a recommendation to propose it as recommended, and the salaries haven't changed in the past 2 weeks, but my recommendation is we go ahead with this motion for salary scale for the next 3 years. Any comments on this? Councillor DeVoe? As Mr. Sear said, the salaries can go high or low. They are doing very good work. I just want to thank them for all the work that they are doing, which keeps us in line. Thank you. Councillor DeVoe, we have a good team. Any more comments or questions?
No. Somebody want to do the motion? Councillor DeVoe? I move that the municipality of the district of Clare accept the proposed municipal employee salary scales for the 3-year period commencing April 1st, 2022 and ending March 31st, 2025 as presented. Proposed by Councillor DeVoe, seconded by Councillor Hill. All those in favor? Against? Motion carried. 12.8, request for letter of support for the electricity, the New Friends Society. I met this group a couple of weeks ago, and they are putting together a project to buy a building in Weymouth to put there, to be a social place for their service, and they just wanted to a letter of support for ask for funding to ACOA. So I don't know if you'd have any comments or questions regarding this. The municipality of Clare, because of historical links with New Friends, there was a cultural link with the Acadians. The municipality in the past has sustained this group. We have helped them with the development of their center, and they really appreciated our support. So here they're starting a new stage, which is the implementation of their plan, which is the purchase and renovation of a building that they are in presently. So to keep on working on this project. So I revised the documents that were submitted to us, and certainly my recommendation to council would be to help them, to give them a letter of support. Are there other questions or comments? Danny Hill?
I move that the council for the municipality of the District of Clare write a letter to the Electric City La Nouvelle France Society in support of their efforts to purchase and renovate their current headquarters in Weymouth for use as an interactive interpretive center honoring the rich history of Electric City La Nouvelle France.
Proposé par Conseil.
Proposed by Councillor Hill, seconded by Councillor Doucet. All those in favor? Motion carried. 12.9, a motion to approve the terms of reference for the Accessibility Advisory Committee. This is more of a formality, as Councillor Como had mentioned earlier, that the terms of reference have been approved by the committee in their mass meetings. But what has happened with other committees of council, we have taken we have been doing this in the past to accept this officially by council. So this is for this reason that we present this today. We included in your package the terms of reference that you have passed, that have been passed unanimous at the first meeting of this committee. And what I'm asking you this evening is to make a motion to approve these terms of reference officially. Are there questions or comments? Would somebody do the motion? Councillor Como. I move that the municipality of the District of Clare approve the terms of reference for the Accessibility Advisory Committee as presented. Proposed by Councillor Como and seconded by Deputy Warden Potier. All those in favor? Motion carried. For people online, there are 3 items. Closed session, there is 13.1 is contract negotiations, 13.2 the acquisition of municipal property, and 13.3 is 13.3 is staff matters. Our next meeting, our next regular meeting will be on the 16th of March 2022 at 7 p.m. All those in favor, we would take a motion to go in closed session, proposed by Councillor Doucet, seconded by Councillor Hill. All those in favor? Against? Motion carried.